Greetings, I am Sean Redman, aka the cheesily named Darth Shawn, and another movie in the snow came out, this time from Quentin Tarantino. The Hateful Eight, Quentin Tarantino's eighth film, and in a lot of ways, I think his worst film. That's not to say this is a bad film. This is a very good film on so many levels, but he has also put the bar way high, and I just don't think he meets a lot of the things he has set up himself with his great films. Any Tarantino film, it has incredible dialogue. Intense dialogue that is tense and builds that tension up and gives you not quite the payoff I expected all the time, especially from a movie like Inglourious Basterds or Pulp Fiction or Reservoir Dogs. Those are the three that I feel like have the most payoff for the intense dialogue, but still very engaging, very interesting dialogue, very interesting characters from a variety of different actors who all are fantastic. The thing, though, that really sticks out in this movie from a positive side is how it was filmed. Obviously, Tarantino championed filming it in 70mm film, and that it looks that way. It feels that way. I wish I had been able to see it in a theater that was showing it film instead of digital. But, couldn't do that. And I think that maybe is a way to see this film and maybe add it to the experience. And those who have seen it, maybe that adds to it. That being said, in digital, it still looks very beautiful. It's so interesting how he filmed this, which adds to the tension in a lot of ways. The way this building up of this old Western style clue is basically the premise that it builds on. It'll deviate from that, and I'll talk about that a little bit. But in the end, all of that is fantastic. The cinematography, the way he films in this cabin that they are all put together is fantastic. The scenes outside, the blizzard is just fantastic. The dialogue is wonderful. The soundtrack is wonderful, but the story just doesn't keep up. Story begins, you've got Kurt Russell, who's bringing Jennifer Jason Leigh in to be hung. He encounters bounty hunters, starting with Sam Jackson, and then Walton Goggins, and then a whole cast of crew, including Tim Roth, Bruce Dern, Michael Madsen is in there, and it is a lot of Tarantino-esque scenes and setup and built, but it all seems so intense and tight early on. We have this whodunit. It really feels like as they are trapped in this cabin during this blizzard, all of them together, and a feeling of someone is going to end everything and try to free Jennifer Jason Leigh from Kurt Russell and potentially kill everybody. And that is where the film really does excel. This tight story, this interesting whodunit, as you try to figure everything out, looking at, well, that person maybe did it, maybe that person did it, oh, that scene leading up, what does this person's backstory have to tie into all of it, and how does it go together? And then Tarantino simply destroys that. And suddenly you're like, oh, that guy did it? The guy that wasn't there before? It just like he throws in characters and like, hey, it's that guy. And then tries to go back and tell us why it's that guy. And that hurts the overall story. I really wanted this to be a kind of a clue, a kind of an aspect of we spend the whole movie with this tight dialogue the whole time and until we get a tense ending. And we do get a little bit of a tense ending, but it is all kind of thrown together because suddenly we have boom, violence, 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 shootout, boom, and this guy's the one who did it. And that feels off compared to what the first 2 hours of watching the movie was. And when he does that, the tone shifts, the style even shifts. We get the exploding heads from Kill Bill return, and they just feel so out of place in this movie from the earlier scene. That's not to say that the earlier stuff wasn't violent or even stylized violence. It's just a different stylized violence that didn't feel this kind of intense Western, this intense mystery, and it just doesn't fit as well. The other thing that really bothers me in this movie from it is none of the characters are redeemable. And that's okay to do that, but even the character's motive, the character's action, and the end of the movie I go, I didn't like any of them. I didn't root for any of them. I'm glad, I want them all dead because they all do terrible things. They all hurt people. They're all out for their own motives. The only character who's kind of redeemable doesn't get a particularly wonderful ending. And I think that really hurts the movie in the end, is just there's nobody that I'm like, oh, I really relate to that character. And that's when Tarantino is at his best. Inglourious Basterds is an intense building movie that builds with dialogues every time to this intense payoff. Sometimes it's Hans Landa realizing who is under, that there are Jews underneath the floors. Sometimes it is the build up to the shootout in the bar scene, and you lose characters, but always there are characters that you can feel for. You feel like you're like, if I was in that shoe, I understand what that would happen on. I understand that I would be that person. Or there's, especially in Inglourious Basterds, the character, the female Jew who wants to take down the Nazis in her theater. The name is escaping me, but you relate to her so much. In Pulp Fiction, there are characters that you can relate to even though there are terrible things going on and terrible people. Even Django, which I'm not as huge of a fan of as a lot of other people, has such relatable characters to it. And that's kind of the problem in this movie, is the characters are not relatable, and then the story takes a turn, and it just took me completely out of this movie. And I can't do a review without at least mentioning how great the cast is as a whole. Sam Jackson is the star in this. He stands out better than I can remember any Sam Jackson role in life. And it's not to say Sam Jackson's a bad actor. He just takes a lot of bad roles sometimes. He does a lot of work, some good stuff, some bad stuff. But this is shining. And it's kind of upsetting that he did not get nominated for this because he was so good. Kurt Russell's fantastic. Walton Goggins is just wonderful and despicable as a Southern warrior who's kind of that Tarantino battling the North and the South, and he does a great job playing this role. Jennifer Jason Leigh is really good as the captive in this, the woman, the murderer. You get Bruce Dern is a great old, confused person. It was wonderful to see both Tim Roth and Michael Madsen returning into a Tarantino film. Roth is wonderful as the Englishman, and Madsen is just kind of this creepy guy. I wish he had a little bit more, but he does definitely embody this role, and I love the way he is in this. So all the cast is fantastic, and they all have, whether working in Tarantino in the past or not really, they all embody that Tarantino dialogue, and that is great to see. And Tarantino always brings greatness out of his actors, and this is no difference. And that they carry this movie at times, even when the story or I have issues or I'm taken out of this, they do carry it in great levels, and they deserve all the credit in the world. And it's kind of sad that they really didn't get recognized in the Oscars. In the end, this just isn't up to what Tarantino usually does. It's still a good movie. It still has a lot of great things about it, but I would say it's not necessary even to see in theaters. Watch it when you rent it. You'll get great Tarantino dialogue. You'll get great acting. You'll get great cinematography, very engaging music, but a story that is just jointed and hurts itself by the own twist that it tries to make and tries to tell. It is just one that just doesn't hold up to all the Tarantinos. Instead of being a great movie, it's just a solid movie. What did you guys think? Did you like Hateful Eight? Do you agree with me that it's not Tarantino's best? What is your favorite Tarantino film? Let me know in the comments below. As always, like this video and subscribe to the channel. And I am Shawn Redman, aka the cheesily named Darth Shawn. May the Force be with you. Always.